On the edge of the city, where the tall buildings of Earth's capital touched the clouds, lived a man named Kale. He was different from others, strange, quiet, and often laughed at by his peers. Scientists called him a dreamer, soldiers called him weak, and the government often ignored his ideas. But Kale had a mind that saw the world differently. He saw problems others avoided and solutions no one imagined. Kale worked in a small, dusty lab, full of wires, machines, and blinking lights. He spent nights studying the stars and distant planets, while the rest of humanity focused only on Earth's conflicts and power struggles. One day, Kale discovered a strange signal coming from a distant star system. It was a faint call, like a cry for help, and he felt it was not random. It was intelligent. It was life. He presented his findings to the council, a room full of serious faces. Men and women who controlled Earth's space missions. "There is a planet," Kale said, pointing at the screen. "And there is a life form that is in danger. We must help." The council laughed. "Kale, we have bigger problems on Earth. Why waste resources on some alien child we don't even know exists?" One of the generals sneered. "Your mission is pointless. Return to your work or be ignored forever." But Kale did not listen. He knew what he saw was real. He knew a life Clifford saved. He prepared his ship quietly, the Exodus, a small vessel built for speed and stealth. He loaded it with medical supplies, protection equipment, and the few tools he trusted, while the world mocked him. Kale smiled, because he knew true courage was not in power or money. It was in doing what is right. As the sun rose over Earth, Kale's ship lifted from the ground, cutting through clouds like a silver arrow. Below, people pointed and whispered, "There goes the outcast." But Kale did not look back. He focused on the stars, each light a hope, each planet a mystery. The journey was dangerous. Space was empty and cruel, filled with meteors, storms, and radiation. But Kale felt alive, for the first time. He was not an outcast. He was a savior. Days passed, and Kale navigated through asteroid fields, avoiding collapsing debris, his hands steady on the controls, his eyes sharp. He reached the edge of the alien system. The planet appeared, green and blue. Unlike any world on Earth, its forests glowed faintly, and rivers shimmered with colors he could not name. He landed carefully near a village, but the air was toxic. He put on his mask. Every step was dangerous. Every sound was alien. Then he saw her, a small creature, fragile, with eyes full of fear. The child was trapped under fallen metal from a building collapse. "Its leg broken," it cried softly. Kare's heart clenched. He ignored the danger, moving carefully to lift the debris. He spoke in a calm voice. "I will help you. Do not be afraid." The aliens around watched from a distance, curious and cautious, but Kale's focus never wavered. As he lifted the child into his arms, a shadow moved in the forest. Kale turned. A creature larger than any predator he had seen approached, its eyes glowing red, teeth sharp. Its growl shook the air. Kale held the child close, his mind racing. He could fight, but one mistake could cost both their lives. He whispered, "Stay calm, we can do this." And with a sudden burst of speed, he ran toward his ship, dodging the creature, hope and fear mixing in every heartbeat. Kale reached the ship, doors sealed, engines roaring. As he lifted off, leaving the alien world behind, he looked down at the planet, at the child sleeping in his arms, and he thought, this is just the beginning. The Exodus flew silently through the stars, leaving the alien planet behind. Kale held the child close, feeling her small heartbeat against his chest. The ship's lights reflected in her wide eyes. She did not speak, only stared at him with a mixture of fear and trust. Kale whispered softly, "You are safe now. I will protect you." Yet even as he spoke, the unknown stretched ahead, endless and dangerous. The stars outside glittered like shards of glass, beautiful but cold. Kale knew the journey back to Earth or to safety would not be easy. Space was a highway of death, with asteroid storms, radiation clouds, and rogue ships that attacked. Without warning, the child, whom he named Lyra, shifted in his arms, and Kale noticed her small fingers glowing faintly, a strange energy that he could not explain. It was as if the planet itself had left a mark on her. Hours passed, then days. Kale navigated carefully, his eyes scanning every radar, every sensor. The Exodus was fast but fragile. One wrong move, and it would be torn apart. He spoke to Lyra in a soft voice to keep her calm. telling her stories of Earth, of oceans, mountains, and deserts she had never seen. Her eyes shone with wonder, yet behind her innocence, he felt a strange power growing, something he could not yet understand. Suddenly, the ship shook violently, alarms blaring, debris from a passing meteor shower pelted the hull. Cale gripped the controls, twisting, turning, avoiding each hit with precise movements. The child cried out, and Cale's heart raced. "Hold on, Lyra. We will be safe," he muttered, pushing the ship to its limits, dodging an enormous chunk of rock. The engine screamed, sparks flew, but finally, he cleared the storm, breathing hard after the chaos. Silence returned, but Cale knew the journey was far from over. Sensors picked up strange signals, tiny ships moving at incredible speed, alien crafts, perhaps scouts from the planet, or enemies. Cale's hands shook slightly as he prepared defensive maneuvers. The child's glow pulsed brighter, as if sensing the danger. Cale realized that Lyra was not just a child. She carried something important, something the universe had not seen before. As they passed through a dense asteroid field, the Exodus was almost crushed by falling rocks. Cale's mind raced, calculating every move, every angle, while Lyra whispered softly, words he could not understand, yet somehow they seemed to guide him. A strange bond formed between them, more than protector and child. It was like they could feel each other's thoughts, their fear, their hope. Intertwined in the quiet of space, night fell over the void, stars spinning past like rivers of light. Cale looked down at Lyra sleeping, and he thought about Earth, about the people who laughed at him, called him weak, the council that ignored his warnings. Yet none of that mattered now, only the child, the unknown ahead, and the choices he would have to make to survive. Space was vast, but courage, he realized, could stretch even farther. Then a new signal appeared, faint but urgent, coming from a small moon near the planet they had just left. Cale's eyes narrowed, scanning, calculating. It was a distress call, not from Earth, not from Lyra, but something else, something alive. The pulse of the message quickened his heartbeat. He knew the journey had only begun. Danger was coming, and the child in his arms held a key he could not yet understand. Cale tightened his grip on the controls, his jaw set, whispering to Lyra, "We will face it together." As the Exodus veered toward the moon, lights cutting through darkness, hope and fear mixing in every moment, the unknown waited for them. Vast, dangerous, and full of secrets. And Cale was ready, because heroes, even outcasts, could rise in the silence of the stars. Cale and Lyra landed on a small moon orbiting the alien planet. The surface was rocky, gray, and silent. No wind, no trees, only shadows stretching in the dim light of the distant star. Cale stepped carefully, holding Lyra close. She watched everything with wide, glowing eyes, her trust in him growing with every step. The moon was not empty. Faint tracks in the dust led to a cavern. A strange hum echoed from within. Cale's heart beat faster. He knew danger waited, but he also knew this could be the only place to hide the child safely from the enemies who might follow. He whispered to her, "Stay close. We must be careful." And Lyra nodded, her small hands gripping his coat. Inside the cavern, Cale discovered a pool of glowing liquid, bright blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. He recognized it from his studies, a rare alien energy, powerful and unstable. It could heal the child's injuries, but exposure was risky. It could trap him or even kill him if he miscalculated. Cale's mind raced, yet he did not hesitate. He carefully dipped his hands and anointed Lyra's wounds. The liquid glimmered, her cries softened, and he smiled, relief filling him. But the moment of hope was short. The cavern shook violently, cracks forming along the walls. A low growl vibrated through the floor. Cale turned to see shadows moving, monstrous shapes, faster and stronger than anything he had seen before. The child's glow pulsed brighter, as if sensing the threat. Cale knew they had no time. He had to act. He shouted, "Run to the ship, now," and gently pushed Lyra toward the exit. But one creature lunged, its claws tearing the ground where he had stood. Cale grabbed a piece of falling rock, swinging, striking the creature. But there were more, dozens, circling, waiting. He realized he could not fight them all. The only way to save Lyra was to stay behind, to distract them, to risk everything. "Go," he yelled, and Lyra hesitated, fear in her eyes. Cale knelt, looking at her face. "You are strong. You will survive. Promise me." Lyra's small voice whispered. "I will, I promise." He smiled, pain and pride mixing in his chest. He turned toward the creatures, preparing to face them, alone if he had to. The creatures attacked, but Kale moved with precision, his body tired, but his mind sharp. He dodged, blocked, and led them away from Lyra, toward the edges of the moon, each step closer to the danger. His chest burned, his muscles ached, but he did not falter, every movement calculated, every breath a sacrifice. Finally, Kale reached a high cliff, creatures closing in. He glanced back at Lyra's ship, far below, its engines glowing. Ready to launch, he jumped, using a device he had built, slowing his fall just enough to escape. The creatures swarmed around him, claws tearing at his suit, energy burning his arms, but he saw Lyra lifting off, leaving the moon behind, safe, alive. As he tumbled into darkness, Kale thought of the child, of the future he had given her, of a world that might one day see the courage of an outcast. Pain surged, but pride lingered. He whispered into the void, "Live, Lyra, live, and remember." And as the shadows closed in, he felt a strange calm, knowing he had done what no one else could. The universe was vast, full of dangers, but Kale understood something no council, no soldier, no scientist had ever taught him. Courage was not measured by strength, by fame, or by respect. It was measured by sacrifice, by the willingness to risk everything for another, and Kale had risked it all. The moon fell silent once more, Lyra's ship disappearing into the stars, and the creatures prowled the empty cavern, unaware that the child they had sought to harm had been saved, and that the outcast of Earth had left a mark on the universe that no one could ever erase. 50 years had passed since Kale's sacrifice. The stars he once traveled seemed quieter now, yet the universe had not forgotten. Lyra had grown from the small, fragile child into a strong and wise leader. Her people, the aliens he had saved, now looked to her as their queen. Her decisions shaped entire planets, and the memory of the human who had risked everything for her lingered in stories, songs, and whispered legends. Lyra's eyes, bright and powerful, scanned the horizon from the balcony of her palace, high above the glowing cities. She remembered Kale, the outcast from Earth, who had saved her life and trusted her to live, to grow, and to rule. She had never forgotten him, and she had spent decades searching, following clues from his ship, his designs, and the faint signals he had left behind, every step bringing her closer. Meanwhile, Kale was not truly gone. He had survived in stasis, trapped between life and time. The alien energy that had surrounded him on the moon kept him alive, but frozen, suspended in a chamber buried deep under the planet's surface, forgotten by many, yet not by the universe itself. His mind drifted through decades, seeing flashes of Lyra growing stronger, knowing she would survive, knowing he had given her the chance to become a queen. The chamber stirred, faint lights flickering, systems awakening, sensors detecting life nearby. Kale's eyes opened slowly, vision blurry, body stiff and heavy, but alive. He breathed in the alien air, feeling decades pass in moments, his mind racing, remembering the child, the sacrifice, the fight on the moon. And he realized something profound. His actions had not been in vain. They had changed everything. Lyra approached the chamber, her royal guard surrounding her, but she walked ahead, confident, graceful, every step echoing authority. When Kale saw her, recognition sparked in his tired eyes, and he struggled to rise, weak but determined. "Lyra," he whispered, voice hoarse from years of silence. Lyra smiled softly, kneeling before him, not as a subject forced by law, but as a gesture of respect, love, and gratitude. "Kale," she said, "you saved my life, and gave me the future I have. Now, I kneel not because you commanded it, but because you deserve it." Tears glimmered in her eyes, her hands reaching for his. "You are the reason my people live, the reason I am their queen." Kale struggled to stand, overwhelmed by emotion. 50 years of silence, struggle, and hope crashing over him. He touched her hands gently, feeling the warmth, the life, the proof that his sacrifice had mattered. The queen before him was the child he had saved, stronger, wiser, and full of the universe's power, yet still the same little girl who had trusted him. The palace around them seemed to fade, time itself bending. Kale realized he was witnessing the result of courage, human courage, the ability to act when others laughed, to risk everything for someone else, for something greater than oneself, and it filled him with pride. Tears streaked down his face as he whispered, "You survived, and you became everything I hoped." Lyra smiled again, her presence both powerful and gentle. "And it is because of you," she said, "Earth's outcast, the man no one believed in. You are a hero beyond time, beyond worlds." Cale finally understood that his life, his choices, and his sacrifice had made a mark no enemy, no council, no creature could ever erase. Above them, stars glittered like silent witnesses, the universe acknowledging the reunion, the courage, and the bond that had changed everything. And Cale knew, in that moment, that every risk, every lonely night, every laugh, and every tear had led to this, the moment when humanity's strength had truly shone across the stars. Cale stood in the grand hall of the alien palace, the walls glowing softly with light that shifted like water. Lyra at his side, no longer a child but a queen who ruled with wisdom and strength. The people of her world watched in awe and respect. Knowing the story of the human who had changed their destiny, for decades, Cale had been forgotten by Earth, called an outcast, a fool, and a dreamer. But here, in the heart of another world, he was a hero, a legend. Proof that courage and compassion could reach across the stars. He looked around at the glowing city, at the thriving forests and shimmering rivers, and felt pride swell in his chest. Lyra approached him, bowing her head, yet her eyes shone with warmth and gratitude. "Cale, you risked everything, and now your life, your sacrifice, is honored by all of us," she said, her voice calm yet powerful. "Your courage taught us that one life can change the fate of many, that one human, even an outcast, can shape the universe." Cale shook his head, a faint smile forming. "I did what I had to do," he whispered. "I never imagined this, that a child I saved would grow into a queen, that my choices would mean so much." Lyra took his hand, holding it firmly. "You did not imagine it because humans often cannot see the true power of courage. But it was always there, in you, outside." The city thrived, alien ships moving gracefully through the skies, trade and communication connecting planets Cale had never dreamed of. He realized that Earth, his home, had been small and narrow in vision. Yet humans had a spark, a strength, a creativity that could reach beyond any limit, and that spark had saved a civilization. The queen and the hero walked through the palace gardens, the child he had saved now a ruler who honored life. Cale saw young aliens playing, laughing, learning, all because he had acted when no one else would. He felt a sense of completion, yet the universe still stretched ahead, full of unknowns, dangers, and possibilities. Cale knew that his story was not just about heroism, it was about hope. It was about showing that even those who are mocked, ignored, or called weak can rise to greatness, and that humanity, when brave and kind, could leave a mark that no force could erase. Lyra stopped and looked at him. "There will be more threats, more worlds that need help, Cale," she said, "and I want you by my side, to guide, to teach, to protect, just as you did for me." A smile crossed Cale's face, tired but full of life. "Then we will face them together," he said, knowing that his journey was far from over. That adventure, danger, and discovery would always call, but this time he was not alone, and he had already changed the course of history. The stars outside glittered, bright and endless. Cale and Lyra standing side by side, a human and the alien queen, proof that courage, kindness, and sacrifice could echo through time, leaving a legacy that no empire, no council, and no enemy could erase. And as the people of the alien world celebrated, and stories of the human hero spread across galaxies, Cale understood something he had always known deep inside, that being an outcast on Earth had led him to become the savior of worlds, a legend and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. The universe was vast, full of danger, mystery, and wonder, but Cale knew, as long as humans dared to act, dared to care, dared to fight for others, they would always shine, leaving footprints of courage across the stars.